a legal contract which has been entered with the venture fund, which allows you to do a business in a startup phase, or you are commercializing any production which is not there, or development and expansion of business which is there in Australia. So there are three areas wherein you can start your business, which will allow you to have a venture fund investing in your company, and which will allow you to you and your family to have a migration visa. Now, having understood what benefit it has as far as I as an investor is concerned, generally in Australia when you migrate, there are point of tests. So you earn points by doing certain activities because of your education, because of the business which you carry out, because of your language proficiency, and so many other factors are there. But such things do not apply if you make investment in this class. What are the kind of aspects which are there that even if you know English or you do not know English, I don't think it makes a difference if you apply under this class, except you might have to pay a little higher fees for obtaining visa. It allows you to stay permanently in Australia. You can work, study, do whatever you want. It will allow you to enroll in health and Medicare system, which Paul spoke about, that health is completely free, primary education is free, and you get a subsidized education when you are going into the university or anything. This will enable all the people to apply for citizenship if you fulfill certain conditions. So that's an added advantage which one needs to be very careful about. What you can do is you can also sponsor certain relatives for permanent residency over there. That's another advantage where people look for. There are two caution points which I just thought we'll bring out. If your acts are not right, and if you do not continue business in appropriate manner, probably this license can get cancelled, but only if you do wrong things and not otherwise. The other thing, that within 5 years you have ability to apply for citizenship if you meet all the criteria. Otherwise, whenever you are walking out from Australia to re-enter, you might have to have a entry visa again processed in Australia itself. So probably more often than not, people would qualify to become a citizen within 5 years time, and then it opens a different regime for you guys. What is the process? How one needs to do it? I think once you satisfy all the criteria which have been given, then expression of interest, you need to fill up those kind of forms online. Then state government will send you an invitation to apply for visa, and visa would be granted that would allow you to stay in Australia. You have to move to Australia once the visa is granted within specified time limit. Once you do that, I think the other benefits will flow automatically. So this is what generally process, and it's a very simple process to go for. Only thing is what you should make sure is that you have all documentation in place before you fill up an expression of interest. When you are filling up online form, at that time no documentation is required to be submitted to any of the authorities over there until you apply for visa. So while you are expressing interest to migrate into Australia, you just need to be ready with the documentation. You don't need to submit anything. Once you receive an invitation, all verification, everything will start thereafter, and not prior to that. Sorry, I just missed one point, that generally this process would take around 8 to 12 months, and that time factor you just need to bear in mind. Now the another class of visa is business innovation and investment. So sometime it may so happen that we may not be able to have a business opportunity, but we want to make an investment therein. So there are two different class which allows you to make investment as well as have a migration opportunity. There are three categories over here. Business innovation, which would mean that a person needs to carry out business out over there for a certain period of time. either new business or an existing business. The another one is they intend to continue and have a commitment to continue some businesses over there, and that has to be eligible businesses. There is another category which is significant investor, which Suren did mention about significant investment opportunity, SIV, what you call it as, right, investment. So that's where you make an investment of at least $5 million Australian dollar, which would allow you to stay over there permanently, or this will give you an ability to have a permanent visa as well. So the criteria almost under all category remains the same, that standard age, except over here apart from financial, what you have is point of test, which considers the aspect of age, English language, qualifications, experience in business and investment. Your personal assets and business assets put together has to cross certain limit, business turnover and innovation. Financial criteria is almost the same as the earlier one, where financial criteria does not really matter a lot, but it is quite important. It can give you point as high as 35 and as low as 10. One has to make sure that the person who is applying in investor stream have at least 3 years of experience in managing business of certain category and with certain investment there in that business. Also, one important aspect in this category is that you should be able to remit all your assets within 2 years time to Australia, and we would wonder that once, since there are exchange control restriction, will I be able to remit or not? The idea is that once you become a non-resident under exchange control regulation in India, you can remit $1 million per person per financial year. So that gives you an immense opportunity to remit all your assets from India to abroad. I think I did spoke about this, that you have investment up to $5 million. However, where would you invest? Either you invest in Commonwealth or bonds in Australia, or you invest in eligible funds, which the fund will make investment in eligible criteria such as equity or say real estate and infrastructures and all that. I have list of that, I can talk about it, but I think we are running out of time, we will not just get into that. Also, you can have a direct investment in private Australian companies where you would have ownership interest, but as an investor, not as a managing the business. So these are the criteria which you need to fulfill if you want to apply for this. What benefit it gives you? This allows you to travel in Australia for till the life of visa, and the visa life is 4 years from the date it has been granted, post which you can seek permanent residency. So you don't have to surrender your Indian citizenship, but you can obtain a permanent visa over there. So that means while you remain a citizen of India, but still you can have a permanent residency over there. Process is almost the same, the way we have discussed about the earlier one, and time period also remains the same. I think there are some word of caution that while we are whatever which has been stated by Sumo or by any one of us, these are all generic presentations. Probably whenever you want to make any investment or you want to apply for migration, we need to look at the fact pattern of each of the cases, and then we would be coming to a precise conclusion how and what you can do therein. And at the end, I would like to thank all of you for a patient hearing, and on behalf of ENY, thank you very much, Sumo. You have given us an opportunity to come before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayur. Just we are closing now, but just before we close, one quick thing. ENY are our migration partners, so obviously anybody who's interested in looking at Australia as a home, I would seriously think that you should talk to Mayur and our Australian counterpart for that part of the discussion. Last but not the least, actually, is that I have a very dear friend, right? And I have him here with me. He's Mr. Rajanya Ravasya. He's a very, very senior, very, very well-known businessman from Mumbai. He's a director of Optimac. He's a director of Terrapolis Developments, and very, very closely associated to the Marathon Next Gen group of companies, which probably we all know of. And why I'm mentioning him is Rajanya I met a couple of years ago, and I met him simply because he came out to be an international investor. And we met him, and he was looking at investment opportunities in Australia. He already has wealth of investments across the globe, in the UK and other countries, I presume. And so we just connected from there onwards. And we assisted him in a couple of his deals in Australia. And since then, we've been working together. The thing is, why I think Rajanya should come up here is share his personal story in terms of how his experience in international property experiences, and specifically Australia, has been. Correct? And I think that would be a really important thing for us to listen to. Okay, so Rajanya, can you just please spend 5 minutes with us? Yeah. Thank you.
Hi friends. Hi friends. I hope you can hear me. So I'm from Mumbai. I love Mumbai, and therefore I love India. But there's a problem with that. 2 years ago, my money started loving Australia. We all know we've been seeing a bit of flat growth in real estate, whether it's commercial or residential, over the last 2-3 years. And I'm this seasoned investor. You know, I need to keep buying things every other month. You know, I bought this, I bought that, I leverage, I draw down, I sell something, I buy something. And I seriously started feeling a dearth of good investment opportunities here in Mumbai, and started seeking for some good yield across the globe, you know, something that I can truly keep protected over a long term, something that will grow, something that I can use to retire with, something I can use for my kids' education, as a pension, you know, like a long-term serious wealth growing plan. Unfortunately, I didn't know Mehul then. He would have made my life simple, because I would have just gone to him, he would have found me property, talked to Paul, and I'd be done, right? But that wasn't to be. So I went back to Google, much like Mehul did. I don't think the data is so wrong on Google, because I bought my first 7 properties doing extensive research out of websites, out of a lot of Australian websites, in fact. And one very important one that you must mention, Mehul, to everyone is realestate.com.au. And this can be your auditor, you know, in terms of what Paul is trying to sell, because he may try to outsell you, but realestate.com will sort of tell you that, no, the price is right, Paul's correct. No, Australia is a very, very transparent property market, and data is very easy to find. Title searches are very easy, available online. So there's no sort of janjat that you have to do to find title or price discovery in the market. I'm going to run you just through some small slides. I know it may happen at the cost of repetition to some of what Mehul has said in terms of the finance. Can I just have the, thank you so much. So I'm director and founder of a company that I call Optimac, which pretty much stands for Offshore Property, Tax, Accounting, Mortgage and Consulting. I have 15 to 17 years maybe experience in small bit of development, more so in terms of investment properties, mostly in the Mumbai real estate market. I worked closely, luckily, with good names in the market like HCC and the Marathon Group. Mostly been on the land side until the last 3-4 years, where I've moved into the built environment to secure better yields, because land is about capital growth, not about cash flow, right? But I have been mostly into land over the last decade or so. I currently own about 10 investment properties overseas. I've managed to leverage each one of them. So for those of you who are concerned, will we be able to raise finance on the properties that we've committed to buy 2 years, 3 years later? I'm telling you, it's not so difficult. Equity deployed today on my portfolio is less than 23%. And I have faced about 5 days of vacancy periods in a year. So I don't think that's too bad. This is where I sort of repeat with what Mehul said, but I'm just sort of trying to reiterate the point again. There are actually several growing markets in the world that are steadily growing, maybe at 3, 4, 5% a year, which may not sound as much, but when you look at the power of compounding with that growth coming steadily rather than maybe like certain more volatile markets, which Bombay sometimes tends to be, property prices can come down, especially in the commercial real estate market where we, as investment property owners, look for yields. Again, EMI funding is balanced out by the yields generated, which is pretty much the rent paying off or your tenant paying off your property. So the capital growth is for free in a sense, and we also make money on the foreign exchange on the long term. In fact, my dad was telling me that sometime in the early 1900s, the GBP and the Indian rupee were pretty much at 1:1. So by doing nothing, you would be 100 times better off today. If these are not reasons, much like Mehul said, there are markets where there's no stamp duty to be paid. You could actually reduce the incidence of capital gains tax, and as opposed to India, in any case, the capital gains tax can be computed as much cheaper. Again, borrow up to 80% of value, so there's a tremendous power to leverage, therefore both on property gains as well as the forex gains. About 2 years back, I founded my own company with a vision to actually advise other young people like me, my colleagues, my friends, my workmates, to actually invest offshore to make sure that they have enough wealth for their dreams moving forward. So that's Optimac for us, and this is just a small personal journey that I've started about a couple of years back. Thank you.
Thank you all. Please join us for dinner after this event. And any questions? By the way, any questions that you'd like to shoot at us quickly before we actually join for dinner? You can obviously ask us individually as well, but are there any questions you'd like to shoot? Yeah, we have perfect. They're just perfect. Anyway, thanks guys. So if you have any questions, please join us for dinner and we'll have that discussion with you. Thanks.